Hello, everybody. Don't touch that dial. This is the Hank Cisco Show. Stan Casaccio sitting in for Hank Cisco. And we have a real interesting show today. We don't have the table with the flags and all that, but we have something very creative for you today. We have Cindy Arena, and she is a singer, songwriter, rock star, investigator for legal people, and a paralegal. So you don't want to mess with her from any stretch of the imagination. Cindy, welcome to the Hank Cisco Show. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's great to be here.
As you see, we have the keyboard set up, so you're going to get a little sample of this music, and it's going to be a great show. Now, here's the thing. You're a Norristown native, right?
I am born and bred, yes.
Born and bred. You still live in the No,
I
you live in Phoenixville.
I work in Norristown. I do work in Norristown, but I live in Kimberton, right outside of Phoenixville area.
Phoenixville. When did you move out there?
Oh, gosh, it's been my son's 25, 26 years ago,
26,
maybe.
Yeah, 25. You went to school in Norristown?
I did. I went to St. Francis.
St. Francis.
And Bishop Kenrick.
Yeah, the good old Bishop
back
Kenrick.
When it was Bishop Kenrick.
Yeah, Bishop Kenrick, the old good old Catholic school days. I can remember those Catholic school days.
Yeah, some memories not so great.
Did you still have the nuns back then?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, they were the greatest, right?
Yeah, well.
I can't spell today because the nuns would stand over me and hit me when I would spell a word wrong.
Right.
Oh, God, it was really great. Anyhow, I think it'd be interesting for people to know, and we're going to have you play a few songs today so people can get an idea of the power of your voice. But when did you really start thinking about music, and how you got into this thing?
Well, I was a young preteen, and I was playing in my mother's house, obviously, because I lived with my mom. In the back room, she had this piano, upright piano, and my mother played by ear and would sing, and I would mess around, you know, back there. And then I just started kind of writing my own songs at 12, 13, and that's what really started it for me.
You kind of sang with your mom, and she kind of...
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
And did she kind of come in and listen and say, hey, that's pretty good?
She did, yeah. But I did a lot of it. It just started being on my own and with my friend, and yeah, we had a good time. That's how we started.
So you started. When you're doing this, and as a kid, you think of fantasy. I mean, I wanted to be a baseball player. I always pictured myself on the bottom of the ninth in the World Series, 2 out, three men on. It's a 3-2 count on me, and I hit the home run. But I assume you had your fantasies too when you were growing up and singing.
Oh yeah, I wanted to be a rock star, or any kind of pop star, anything, and eventually I wanted to be Madonna when she was popular. I was in a band, and I had the cut-out lace gloves and everything, the whole thing going on.
The whole nine,
yeah.
10 yards, huh?
Yeah. So
who were some of your other people as a young girl did you want to emulate in this vision of you being a rock singer?
Well, actually, I loved Judy Garland singing in Wizard of Oz. That was one of the best, and Karen Carpenter. She had the best range.
Oh, Karen
Pat
Carpenter
Benatar.
yeah.
There were some of my idols of the Wilson sisters and Heart. Best, voices, just that kind of thing, where I just admired that and the classical training.
Well, you definitely picked a couple of great people to emulate because they were really super. I loved all of those people, and so I understand that. So now you're in school, and were you in the band or anything in school? You didn't do nothing.
I wrote for the school newspaper. I kind of liked that, but that was about it.
Were you shy, or were you just?
I just was lazy, I think.
So it wasn't the thing to do. So you're in school, in high school. You didn't play in any band or anything else like that. Just kind of your own personal thing that you did. And then you went to college, or where did you go?
Went to Westchester. Back then it was Westchester State College, and I majored in music. I had a little bit of training, some piano lessons, a little bit of vocal lessons, and I majored in music, and it was maybe a big mistake because I did not have 12 years of training as the other people did.
When you say training, that's on the actual piano?
The piano, classical training, Beethoven, all that. I played some of that. I had maybe a year or two, and these other people had 12 years, and I had like maybe 1 or 2 years of vocal training. And in retrospect, people have told me, why didn't you major in voice instead of piano? And I wish I would have known it at the time, but it just never occurred to me. But so everybody was way ahead of me, and I ended up changing my major 4 times and graduating with criminal justice degree.
So you're singing, songwriting, and you're majoring in voice, and all of a sudden you wind up as a paralegal in criminal justice.
Yeah, my first job, I was an investigator for the district attorney's office out of college.
Oh,
that
yeah?
was interesting.
Oh,
yeah, I did a little
CSI.
Little bit. I did
Yeah.
a little undercover work, but a lot of it
What was the most exciting
paperwork.
thing you did?
I went on an undercover bust, and I was wired. And I was so excited because I got all this good stuff about where the drugs were and everything, and I didn't know anything. I was like this nice little Catholic girl, and I had a nice suit on. And I got back, and the guys, I said to the guys in the van, "Did you get all that?" And they said, "If you would have turned it on, we would have got it." So they got nothing.
But that was very. But they didn't ask you to do any of that.
No, I was done.
That was done. I said, "Oh, it's just not going to work out." So you're writing songs when you're 11, 12 years old. What was, songwriting to me, and I'm strictly a layman on this stuff, but they tell stories, and generally it's based on some emotional issues that people go through.
Well, I would like to think it was that deep, but at that age and that level, I was writing about the guys across the street that were so cute.
Okay. So more like true pop songs.
Right.
I got you.
Then I got a little deeper as I got older and started to get more emotions about things. It got, about being afraid to go to college and live away from home, that type of thing. I remember, and about my father who died when I was quite young. I wrote a song about him. So.
Yeah, that really gets down. I'd love to hear that song one day. It probably would touch a lot of people. So now you went to college, you graduated, you started working in the district attorney's office, doing investigations, paralegal work, and stuff like that. And then you woke up one morning and said, "I'm going to start singing."
Well, I kind of did it on the side the whole time I was doing it, and I ended up.
When you said doing it on the side, what do you mean?
Just doing it for myself on the side, and then I ended up getting into a band, a rock band. My first one was when I was about 25. So I was already working in the DA's office.
So you're working in the DA's, but you're doing a little singing on that, and then you say, I'd really like to try to get in the rock band. Is that kind of,
yeah.
and then you look up. Well, today you would go online and see if anybody's looking, but back then I guess.
Back then it was the old newspaper, and there was an ad for a female vocalist, and I went for the audition, and I got hired, and it was two or three blocks from my home. And the guys were saying, they were just talking to each other, saying that they had these girls coming in from Philly and auditioning. And they said, what's going to happen? We're going to have a girl around the corner who's going to come here, and that's who we're going to hire.
And
it was
you
me.
wound up being the girl around the corner. And you didn't know these guys or anything else like that?
I didn't know they were there and practicing in their basement. I had no idea.
And so you started singing. What was your first gig that you did with them?
I don't remember. We used to play at the Harleysville Hotel and the Lansdale Beef and Ale back in the day. And
you didn't perform with any of those chicken wires in front of you where people throw beer bottles or anything like that?
No, not that I recall.
Not that you recall.
No. Hopefully I'd recall
So
that.
you respond to an ad in the paper, you go with the group, and were they kind of, and by the way, just to show you, I think this is the initial group. I don't know if you can get a picture of that group there. A very 80s group. There was the Pat Benatar look on you there, Cindy. It was
great.
I
was working on that.
Yeah. So that's 5 guys. Did you get that? and then you graduated to the serious stuff.
Yeah, that was my ex-husband, and we were in a band together that we formed and called it Charade, and we did some recording and playing out, and that was a promo picture for that band. Yeah.
So you actually did some recording and sent the tapes out? And
yeah, we did a charity tape, cassette tapes back then, and that's what we did that was that picture. I think it was a promo picture for that. But yeah, he's going to kill me if he knows I say this, but he used to get his clothes, because I don't know if he's wearing it in that picture, but he would wear some leopard print, and he was really into that John Bon Jovi and that kind of thing, and we would have to go to like women's stores or down on South Street to get his clothes.
Well, that's not true. I remember watching, there was a show that I was watching the other day, and the guy's wearing leopard pants and and they asked him where he got them. He said he had to go to the women's clothing store to get them because back then, I mean, people were.
Yeah, it was very male, female, you know. That's,
right. So you actually you were kind of venturing out into Pat Benatar territory because she married the lead guitarist.
That's right.
Too.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good. So you're doing this job and you're working full time. You know, when I look at these struggling artists, first off, I guess you really started really loving what you were doing in the music.
Oh, it was great.
You know, the people applauding you and coming up to you afterwards. And
yeah, I never had that before. You know, you did it
asking
in my
for
house.
your art. Did you? How many pictures did you autograph? You push your
None.
None. Oh shoot! I would have asked you for an autographed picture.
I don't think so.
But you, that adulation that you get is kind of like a drug almost.
Like a high, yeah.
Yeah, it's a high that you really get it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, we are going to do a little song. Want people to get a flavor of your singing. So what's the first song you're going to do?
Song by Adele, because I'm pretty sure mostly everyone is aware and knows Adele and likes her music and her voice. It is called Hello.
Hello.
And it won Song of the Year.
Yes, I remember the song well, and I'm looking forward to hear it. So we're going to have Cindy play Adele, and we'll see how you like it.
3, 2, 1. Hello, it's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to meet to go over everything. They say the time's supposed to heal ya, but I ain't done much healing. Hello, can you hear me? I'm in California dreaming about who we used to be when we were younger and free. I'd forgotten how it felt before the world fell at our feet. There's such a difference between us and a million miles. So hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done. But when I call, you never seem to be home. Hello from the outside. At least I can say that I tried to tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart. But it don't matter, 'cause clearly it doesn't tear you apart anymore. Hello, how are you? It's so typical of me to talk about myself. I'm sorry, I hope that you're well. Did you ever make it out of that town where nothing ever happens? It's no secret that the both of us are running out of time. So hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times to tell you that I'm sorry for everything that I've done. But I call, you never seem to be home. Hello from the outside. At least I can say that I tried to tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart. But it don't matter, clearly it doesn't tear you apart anymore.
Cindy, wow, that was really great.
Thank you.
And I could feel this passion. You really like Adele. She kind of looks like she kind of you really relate to her and her music.
Yeah, even though she's much younger than me, she's very, like you said, you used the word passionate. She's very passionate about her music, and I just love her voice. It's not perfect. It's near perfect, but it's got that crack to it, and it's just got warmth. Yet it's got emotion, and
you can really sense that when she sings. You feel like you become part of the story.
You do.
With her.
It's easy to do that with her.
Yeah. And I assume your songwriting was kind of like that too, to a degree, a little bit, as you matured.
Different influences. Sarah McLachlan, I don't think I mentioned her, but she has influenced me as well, because she is a really great songwriter, and she had to develop that as well as singer.
You know, one of the things, excuse me, one of the things that that is that people don't think about. Now, you're working a regular job, and you're performing, you know, because you enjoy doing it. But in between there's hours and hours of practice to get these songs down, to get these sets down. And I'd like you to explain to people, you know, this process that you went through during your normal time when you were really performing hardcore and this stuff on a regular basis, I'm sure. What was it like?
Well, the most intense was, I guess, in my mid-20s when I was with the band RPM. There was one place, the Lansdale Beef-N-Ale, and we would play there 4 nights a week for maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and I was working 5 days a week. And it was very draining, very tiring, but it was so much fun to look forward to that. But then I'd get home at 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and I just have time to go to sleep and then get up and go to work early. And so the only time to do that is when you're young.
Mm-hmm. True.
Because it's draining.
So where was the practice time? Because you just couldn't, I mean, new songs were coming in and out, and you had to stay somewhat relevant.
We didn't practice when we were playing 4 nights a week, because there really wasn't time. That was our practice. But when we were playing maybe a weekend here, you know, weekends, we would practice at least 1 to 2 nights. When I went out and did things on my own, my solo stuff, I had to do everything. You know, do the set list, do the the setup, the breakdown. I do have some nice people that will help me, but it's mostly on me, and all the practicing is and figuring out which song is it after the other, what makes sense, what flows, what can I handle vocally, one song after another. So it's a lot of work behind the scenes before people even see you play and sing, just getting prepared, and it's a lot of work.
One of the things that we talked about is that, like, before you go out and do a gig, I mean, you don't eat dairy or anything like that, and because it affects your voice. I mean, that, to me, I mean, I didn't think about that, but there's a lot of truth, obviously, to that. But then you see, like Dean Martin always looked like he had a glass of liquor in his hand, but I know that wasn't liquor in there, and he just pulled that fake. But I'm sure sometimes these guys did drink.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah, and I could see it would relax you, but I just would never take that chance that it would affect me, that I would get tired, or my voice, I'd forget the lyrics, or something like that. But
a tough question I'd like to ask you is that, and I remember the 70s, 80s very well, and the 60s. I hate to tell you this, I remember that too.
I remember some of the 60s.
You know, because I enjoyed, I got a chance to see Chubby Checkers and the Supremes and all these people at Wagner's ballrooms and stuff like that. But this is a tough question. Did you, being in that genre of rock music and those things, were you affected, or people around you? I'm sure you weren't, but were people affected with drugs and stuff like that, and alcohol? Was that an issue for any of your people that you played with and stuff?
To be honest with you, it was more ego than that. There were some people, we had a drummer at one point that would drink way too much, and he would get sloppy drunk during a gig, and we had to tell him, that's it, you can't drink anymore, and if you do, you're out, and we had to fire him, because it was embarrassing. He would just get ridiculous. But that was the only incident I can think of. Most of the time, it was maybe somebody just got a really big ego that got in the way of everybody else, and you just couldn't. It was hard to work with them.
And I'm sure there's a movement of people in and out of a band. I mean, you see it even today. That I can think of a number of bands that those issues came. They lasted like one brief second. That's what's amazing about the Rolling Stones. I mean, these guys have been performing for a long time. Yeah. Of course, we all know Keith Richards has been dead for a long time, and nobody, but he doesn't know that.
Right.
So they weren't
Nobody
going
told
to
him
move.
that.
They weren't going to move him out of the picture at all. The funny thing is that he's the guy that's still doing great.
He'll outlive us all.
And Mick Jagger had the heart operation.
Right.
You go figure.
No.
But anyhow,
Doesn't make sense.
so you never really were affected or any of that touched any of your group of people other than the egos, which I can totally understand because that happens in the business world too.
And sometimes it's the egos and the drinking, you know,
And
which is
well,
a really
yeah,
bad
that's a
combination.
really bad combination too. I know we're going to do another song, and I think this song is by Pink.
Right.
And tell me a little about your relationship with Pink. I mean, I think she's really
She's fantastic.
I think
yeah.
her shows are unbelievable.
Oh, her acrobats during the
Oh,
shows
my
really
God.
just touched me when she did, I forget the name of the song now, but she has so many that it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's a local girl, you know, from Bucks County,
Right.
and that she's down to earth, it seems to me, and she's kind of crazy with the hair and everything, but there's one song she wrote, well, a lot of songs that she wrote, Glitter, it's just
Yeah,
a beautiful
That's
song.
a beautiful song, yeah.
Yeah, and just I did some songs that she wrote, but today I'm doing the song What About Us, which could be about God, it could be about Trump, it could be about anything, but she, you know, it's talking about...
And that song could be about the relationship between two people.
Right.
Because of, you know, different things that can happen in people's life. That is a very emotional song to sing and do that. So we hope to, we'll be breaking for that song in a minute. So we're ready for the song.
Okay.
And this is Cindy doing Pink.
We are searchlights we can see in the dark. We are rockets pointed up at the stars. We are billions of beautiful hearts. And you sold us down the river too far. What about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happy ever afters? What about us? What about all the times that ended in disaster? What about us? What about trust? What about us? We are children that need to be loved. We are problems that want to be solved. We were willing, we came when you called. Man, you fooled us, enough is enough. Oh, what about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happy ever afters? Oh, what about us? What about all the times that ended in disaster? What about us? What about trust? What about us? Sticks and stones, they may break these bones, but then I'll be ready. Are you ready? It's the start of us waking up. Come on, are you ready? I'll be ready. I don't want control, I want to let go. Are you ready? I'll be ready. 'Cause now it's time to let them know we are ready. What about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happy ever afters? Oh, what about us? What about all the times that ended in disaster? Oh, what about us? What about trust? What about us? What about us? What about love? What about us? What about when a bus, when the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me, stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand now? Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
That was great. We got to hear two songs. We got Pink and Stand By Me, which is one of my all-time favorite.
Is it?
I
Thank
remember
you.
the show. But the Pink song really touched me because I think the whole story is unbelievable. And as we talked about, her music is so intense and great. It always amazes me how they put these songs together. Of course, you see that in country music, too, where you can almost talk about anything. You know, oh, here we are doing a show, and they put it to music, and next thing you know, you got a song to a show. And it's really interesting. Here's something that I wanted to ask you is, you see American Idol, and you've seen some pretty young kids on American Idol that are really unbelievable when I hear them sing. Back when, in the 70s and 80s, there was a show, and I forget the name of the show that I think...
Star Search?
Star Search, yeah, Star Search was on. Did you ever think about going on that show, or was that just a fantasy thought process? Or
I thought about it, and I knew somebody who was on it, but I never had the guts, I guess, to really do anything about it. So I never went. It would have been fun.
It would. I think it would have been, you know, one of the things you wished if you could turn back the
Right.
clock. You'd say, you know, I'm going to give that a try. And I would assume out there with American Idol, there are a lot of people like you who were a little afraid to get on there, and you didn't want to fail. You know, all these cameras on it, and so they just stay within themselves. So maybe if there's somebody out there watching the show that, you know, might want to give it a shot and say, at least they checked it off their 100
Right.
things to do before you die list type of thing. So now, you do you teach voice at all, or do you teach?
I do not. When I was pregnant with my son, who's now almost 25, I gave very rudimentary, you know, beginner piano lessons, because I did only take that maybe 2 years of piano lessons. So I did to young children. I gave some piano lessons.
You started with chopsticks and worked your way up to...
Something like that.
Yeah,
But that's about it. I never gave voice lessons.
Any of those kids that you taught moved up to another level, or they...
Actually, the one girl I taught, her name is Jackie. She now is, I believe, a music teacher. So she, I think I started her, so I'm proud of Jackie.
Way to go, way to go. Now you have a son. Did he get the music gene?
No, amazingly enough, even though both his parents are musicians, he did, you know, he tried it out, but it just didn't seem like it was a good fit for him. He tried the guitar, he tried keyboards, he even tried harmonica, which is a lot harder to play than it looks. But yeah, he just never.
Well, that's why I have trouble playing the harmonica.
There you
I
go,
thought
now
it
you
was
have an
easy.
excuse.
I thought it was easy. No wonder I have trouble with that.
It's very hard, I hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, you know, I was surprised. I've tried it a couple of times. Oh, I'm going to learn it, and I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Actually, I have about 3 or 4 chords I play on a bass guitar, and then once a year we have a party, and we have live music at the party, and they back me up, and I play my couple of chords on the bass and sing, and that's my
good.
That's my
something.
thrill of that's my my moment that I shine. And sometimes my wife will join us, and she'll play a couple chords on the guitar, so we look so that's our fun of it. Nothing anywhere qualified about that. I'll tell you what, you know, you're now doing this strictly on your own. You go, you do, how many times a week do you perform?
I haven't in a while, but it would be just once a week because, you know, but it's earlier, the hours are earlier, which is so nice. You know, some of them, the golf clubs have 5 to 7 or 7 to 10, something like that.
So they're having like dinner, and that you come in and you play some songs and a little background music for people there.
And I bring in my people,
Yeah.
which they always like that you bring people in. That's another thing.
Anybody give you a $100 tip?
No, maybe 20.
20? They put their phone number behind it?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? You better go find that $20 bill. There might have been a phone number there.
It's long gone.
Never know. Never know. Well, I'll definitely look around for you. So what are the golf clubs that you generally play at?
I've been, well, I did play Spring Hollow, and I did play Kimberton, those two. And I used to play Joe's, which is now Liberty Union, but a lot of those places are going strictly through an agency, which I'm not affiliated with. So.
Okay, so you do
kind of on my own.
You do it on your
Yes.
own and through your stuff like that. So anyhow, I'd like to thank you so much for coming out and thrilling us with your music and giving us a little background on what it was like for you going from 11 to 12 and going through the music process, and your little touch with some fame and notoriety and a rock band and everything else. I wish I could have had the courage to do that and fake it out. I'm sure there's a lot of other people watching and say, "Oh wow, you know, we could have been there." But you have a tremendous voice, and you can really feel the emotion in your voice. So everybody, I'd like to thank Cindy for coming out. Thank you for watching. And if you want to get a hold of Cindy, you'll see the information on the bottom of the screen, and you can give her a call, and she can perform for you. That's it for till next week. Talk to you later.